morning. Today we're just going to be tying up a variant on the March Brown. Dry fly. It's going to be more of a spinner pattern. It's going to be a March Brown flat wing. And I've got a size 14. Actually, I think it's a size 12 dry fly hook in my vise here. Using sheer 14-aught in brown. For the tail, I'm just going to turn to a partridge feather, and I've just got, 3 or 4 of those fibers kind of lined up. So I've got those fibers removed. We'll go ahead and take a measurement for about the length of the hook shank here. We'll go ahead and take a couple of wraps to get that started securely. Kind of take a look back. That's looking okay. I try to keep those fibers on the top of the shank of my hook here. Rotating my thread kind of counterclockwise as we go along, just to flatten it out just a little bit. And that's going to do us just nice. We'll go ahead and secure most of the rest of that back. Grab our scissors and cut the very tips off. So I'll go ahead and secure a piece of brassie size silver wire on the lens side of my hook. I'm going to take a few wraps to get that kind of secured, then I'm going to go ahead and pull that through. So it's about the length that I want my abdomen to be. Going to let that carry over the far end of the hook there, and then we're going to come right back up. Secure the butt end here. Work a little bit more on our taper. So we're just taking some dubbing right off of a hare's mask here. We're going to want to dub this on fairly tight. We may not end up using all of it, which is fine. Now I've got a pretty tight dubbing noodle kind of set up here. I'm going to take some empty wraps of thread right back to where those tails are located. Try not to have them jostling around much. And we're going to just move up following the taper here. And possibly add a little bit more substance to that taper. Continually tightening this dubbing up. Right about there is going to be good enough for me, so we're going to go ahead and remove the rest of that dubbing. Once we have that dubbing locked down, we'll go ahead and grab our silver brassie size wire. And a lot of this is going to sink right in, which is perfectly fine. We want the hint of a ribbing, maybe a tiny little bit of shine, but we don't need something that's just sticking out like a sore thumb on this particular one. Once I've got that kind of up the body, we'll go ahead and take a couple of wraps over the top of it. A couple for good measure on the other side, and then we'll just let that rotate while we pull on it, and it'll break it right off. So for the flat wings on this, I'm just going to once again turn back to my partridge skin here. I'm going to take some of these nice barred feathers right down here by the tail. I've gone ahead and cleaned off 2 of these. So really we've just got the top portion. I sent that down gently on the top of my hook shank, facing more towards the camera lens. We'll get 1 wrap in front of it. I'm going to take a couple of wraps in on the back side of it to help secure that in place a little bit. And from there we're going to actually pull. You can see kind of how that is setting, but we're going to pull this through. Even the smallest little bit here will give us a nice beefy kind of wing, and that's kind of what we're looking for. And we're going to go ahead and take a few more wraps in front of it to coax that stem to poke out a little bit forward, and we'll just grab our scissors and reach in and we'll cut off the butt end. So we'll take our second feather, that's going to be aimed back towards me. Take that first wrap right over the top of it. So I've got that second one sticking straight out as well. I'm going to go ahead and take a wrap or two with my thread behind those wings, as well as a wrap in front, and I'll try to drag at least part of that stem forward with us. And I don't want to clamp this down too tight because I still need to pull this wing through a little ways. We'll go ahead and sneak in and cut that off as well. I've just gone straight back to that rabbit mask and pulled some dubbing away, this time from an area that's just a tad bit darker, if you can find one on your mask. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this on pretty tight. You can see I've got my flat wings kind of spreading out. I want to start my thorax with a few of these wraps right behind those wings. And once I've got a couple of wraps behind those wings, I'm going to take a couple of wraps crisscross right through the center of them. It's going to help us kind of cover up some of these thread wraps. So now we've got kind of that with those thread wraps covered up a little bit. I'll just go ahead and tighten the rest of my dubbing down here. I'm going to pull these two wings a little bit backwards because these wraps are all going to go in front of them, and we can kind of manhandle and move them around afterwards. But let me take a few wraps backwards just to kind of keep those wings kind of tending backwards rather than wanting to go forward. And then I'm going to come up right behind the eye of the hook here. Whip finishing. You can start up right behind the eye, but you want to kind of move it backwards as you're doing your head. You want it thicker, moving away from the eye, than you want it at the eye of the hook itself. We'll go ahead and release that from our whip finisher, and then we can cut our thread off. So when we're finished, we have a nice flat spinner pattern here with the partridge wings on it, creating that flat wing. It's going to ride pretty low in the water, so you probably are going to want something in front of it to use as a strike indicator. But a wonderful pattern tied with nothing much more than partridge feather and a rabbit's mask and some silver wire. So throw a hook in your vise and give this one a shot.